What's up, guys? Welcome to the Crypto Savvy channel. I'm Craig, and we are going to be going over the charts for the traditional markets, DXY, and Bitcoin. Towards the end of the video, we'll also be looking at what a macro bottom after a bubble pop looks like. I think that's what we'll be seeing in Bitcoin probably next year. I'll let you know what I'm looking at there. We've been looking at this for over a year, and it is playing out absolutely beautifully. Our Amazon to Bitcoin comparison chart. Also, at the end of the video, I will be going over my vacation. We went on a deep sea fishing trip. I'll show you guys some pictures. We went to Key West. I'll show you who we used as a charter, and definitely worth checking out. If you guys are interested in deep sea fishing, you're going to want to stick around to the end because we had a great trip. So anyways, let's get into it. Looking at the pre-markets, the Dow futures are down 197 as of making this video. The market does not open for another 40 minutes from the time of making this video. It may be open by the time this video comes out. So S&P down 33, NASDAQ down 115. Looking at the Dow, so we did break up out of this. I'd like to see a daily open and close above this channel before getting bullish. As of right now, we have a lot of times this works as a fake out. Let's see how today does. If we remain above here, so if we're above this, that's bullish for the traditional markets. Once we drop back below, look for that 33.3 range again. And once we break that, then we're probably continuing down to my targets, possibly much lower than this. We'll take a look at that as it happens. But as you can see right now, this high and this high, we have a lower high in the macro, higher high in the RSI. That is hidden bearish divergence. Hidden divergence is a continuation of the trend. So if you have hidden bullish divergence in an uptrend, it's bullish. If you have hidden bearish divergence in a downtrend, that's bearish. So that is a continuation of the trend. As of now, you would have to break this high at the 37,000 point range to invalidate this. But as you can see, our RSI is pretty high here. We're also making, like I said, hidden bearish divergence. That's a pretty big deal in the macro. Taking a look at the DXY, I told you watch for a bounce around 104.59. We almost got down to there, not quite. Got our bounce. It is bullish as of right now. I know a lot of people want to get this out there. The DXY is an index, right? It's just a basket of currencies compared to the dollar. So it's not actually traded. You trade the dollar, not the DXY. So these people showing you the RSI on the DXY or your indicators on the DXY, that it's not a traded index. So you can't trade the DXY. That is why those indicators shouldn't be used. So you shouldn't be looking for bullish, bearish, divergence, anything on the DXY. That, as far as I have found out with my time in the markets, if an index isn't actually traded as the DXY, you can't use those indicators. So get that out of your system. Anyways, so our next level I'm looking for is around 112. Of course, unless we break the bottom of this trend. If we break the bottom of this trend, then I'm looking for around that 102 range. We look at the bigger picture. Looking at the daily, as you can see, it is still running parabolic. Big time. The big picture, and this is where that 102 comes in. You can see this trend line right here. That would get us back down to the 102 if we did hit it. Either way, this is looking very bullish. If we take a measured move of the beginning of this and we bring it up to the top, that gets us around the 118 to 120 range. But if you guys have been watching the channel for any period of time, you know that I am looking for, this is on the monthly. We broke out of this falling wedge. We could get way up into these ranges, which would be extremely bad for all the traditional markets, even gold and silver. I've showed videos in the past where, like if you look at 2008, for instance, when the market crashes, traditional markets, everybody, you see all the commercials, buy gold, buy silver, when in reality, all those fall down with it. The only thing that rises is the dollar in a traditional bear market. And that is because people are getting out of the risky assets, getting into the dollar. When the markets bottom, the smart money gets back into the stocks, Bitcoin, whatever, and rides it back up from there, while everybody else was holding from the top has years to wait to get to even break even. So it's something for you guys to consider. Looking at the monthly, so on the monthly here, we are still getting rejected at our 24.5 range, which is our 55 EMA. Unless we get a monthly close, open and close above that 24.5, this all remains bearish on the monthly. Let's take a look at the weekly. On the weekly here, I've been showing you guys this bear flag we had here. And if we take the measured move of that bear flag, when we looked at this as a rising channel, that got us our target of that 25.5, which we nailed. Came back up, created another bear flag, and then that gave us our target of 17.6. Bam, nailed it. Once we break this, depending on if, when, and where. So if it was to break this week, which is possible, unlikely, but possible, that would get us down to around the 82. And as you can see, that doesn't mean we drop straight down. These are weekly candles. This took about two to 2.5 weeks for this drop. Same for this drop. So just something to look at. And if we do have that drop, we'll probably come back up and test this 14,000 range again after that. As you guys know, I have a false bottom theory. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But as of right now, this is what I'm looking for downside targets. Now, if we were to break up past this 27, 28,000, we could go as high as this 33,000. We've talked about this for quite a while. If you want a great short and you can be patient, I am going to be shorting very heavily at the bottom of this. Yes, that's way down at 21,000. Patience is key, guys. You can try to get it here if you think it's going to continue coming down. Again, I'm sharing my opinion and my view of the market. None of this is financial advice, but I'm showing you how I'm reading the market. So far, everything has played out almost exactly to the T. So as of right now, we're getting rejected on we'll zoom in here. We're getting rejected on the 13 EMA. The next EMA is the 200 EMA is around that 26.6. And then we have our 21 EMA at 28,000. So we've been talking about that as a possibility for a long time. We do get up above that 28, then we can look for higher, but we'll go into smaller time frames and look at what's going on. First, we're going to look at all these bigger time frames. So I'm going to show you. So these fib channels are drawn in here on the macro, right? All these fib channels react as support and resistance. Once they're broken, we usually have, if we break it, a resistance level, then we usually get pretty bullish. We break one of these fibs on a support level, we usually get very bearish. Now you can see, let's zoom into where we're at here on the weekly. So on the weekly, we've been watching this trend line here, which is a fib line, and that was 24,449. We did not get above that last week. We can move it to where it's at this week. This week it's at 25.9. Yeah, right around 25.9, give or take 50 bucks, right? And that'll be this trend line here. We also had this trend line off the wicks, which we are not able to open and close above yet. That was at 24.5. We are below that trend line now. If we remain below this, then the continuation to the downside. Now, if we come up here, start getting support, then the chances are we'll come back up and test this. If it takes a couple weeks, could get us up to that 26, 28, depending. So, but our next fib level to come down to is down in these ranges here, around that 12 to 14,000, depending on how long it would take to get down there. And then our next one's down to these lower, much lower levels. Before we get into smaller time frames, if you guys are interested in trading, definitely check out Prime XBT. Link down below. I also have tutorials. If you look at my YouTube page, I do have some playlists on there. You'll see a Prime XBT tutorial there showing you how to use your margin on there. It seems difficult, but actually it's very simple if you watch the video. Definitely check them out, and you can use my promo code SAVVY50. That'll get you up to a $7,000 bonus. SAVVY25 will get you up to or SAVVY25 will get you 25% off your fees. You can trade altcoins, Forex, gold, silver, oil, S&P, pre-markets, all from one exchange. So definitely check them out if you haven't already. And here is the .com bubble compared to the Bitcoin bubble. I call it the Bitcoin bubble. It's just a joke about Bitcoin. But we called this way back here. First, we called the 64 top, came down. I said, look for 29. Then look for a big fake pump rally to get everybody bullish, to start calling 100K again. And what happened? Everybody got bullish and was screaming 100K all the way back up here. We were expecting this. I did not give in on getting bullish like everybody else. We expected this to come back down, and everybody can say, but you missed this whole run. Well, you probably bought up here waiting for 100K. I would much rather miss this run, catch this short, and continue down like we did up here. And I said, look for an ABC correction. And that's what we got, an ABC correction. Huge fake out, huge fake pump. People say you can't call it a fake out because it was a higher high. It was a fake out because 99% of people were still screaming $100,000. They got faked out. I don't care what way you want to twist the story, look at it. They got wrecked. And then what we were looking for is a crash down with this wave here. I made this chart on December 2nd before anyone started talking about the Amazon compared to Bitcoin chart. And I had talked about there are tons of scams in the .com bubble that needed washed out. This is what washed them out. And then Amazon took about 10 years to break its all-time high up here, which is the same thing we could be seeing in Bitcoin. I've told you guys before that people say, no way, it'll take that long, blah, blah, blah. Traditional markets have been in a bull run ever since the creation of Bitcoin. So I think, people say every bear market Bitcoin drops 80 to 90%. But all those bear markets, the 4-year cycle, those were corrections. I believe this is the actual first bear market for Bitcoin, because traditionals, I still believe, have much, much further down to go. So we've talked about too, this had a false bottom down here before another rally up. And I think that'll be sometime in the end of this year. And I think it's going to be between 7,000 and 8,000. We'll get a rally up, get everyone bullish again. It doesn't look big here, but everybody will be looking at it on dailies and 4 hours. It'll look massive, right? It might be 7,000 and get 100% pump, which would only be 14,000. And then continuation. I do believe the bottom will be in sometime in 2023, maybe the middle to end, but that's why we track it on this channel. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, guys. Scroll down under the video, smash that thumbs up button, leave your comments down below, let me know what you think. Make sure you subscribe to the video if you want these daily updates every day. Well, Monday through Friday, or if I'm on vacation, I usually don't do them then, but I do keep you guys updated. We track these markets. Anyone that's just watching Bitcoin without watching the traditional and the DXY is not getting a full view of the markets. Bitcoin is not alone. It does not move on its own. It's all about the markets as a whole. So the false bottom, as you can see here on this trend line, once we broke out here, this was a weekly trend line. Everyone got super bullish. That was it. That was the bottom. And then it came down for one more low. And this is where people capitulate. Once it breaks that low, everyone loses confidence in the market. And I believe that area is going to be somewhere around 7,000 to 8,000 for Bitcoin. Like I said, we'll get that big rally and then a continuation down. Once this breaks, everyone's going to lose everyone's going to lose confidence. And then that's when, I don't want to say the bull market starts, but that's when the bottom starts to form. And we're going to take a look at long term how the bottoms form and how long it takes for a real bubble pop, which I believe that's what we're in. Oh, but anyway, once we broke this trend line, we came back down and tested it, and that was the real bottom. So it's probably what we're going to see in Bitcoin. What I'm looking for, of course, it doesn't have to play out this way, but we're going to be tracking this very closely. Now, the daily chart. So the daily, once we broke this rising broadening wedge, we had this target in here. of the break, which got us down to that 24.3-ish area. We did hit that, and I said if that broke, that was going to become major resistance. And that's exactly what happened. This is major resistance here on our daily. I do think we may see something like this if we do get a bounce at our old low before continuing down. But again, I'm going to show you in the next charts, a lot of times when we get down to that old low like we did over here, it just breaks right through because everyone's expecting a bounce. So that's a beautiful liquidity grab because you got people buying in or longing there while smart money just shorts on them and takes their money. And then once we get down to this lower level, which is just another measured move, we take the measured move from the break of the trend right here. Remember, this is the daily, and bring it all the way down to this bottom where the bear flag began. That gets us this target down here of that $7,000 to $8,000 range. We'll get a more accurate view once we see what's going on with the market. As of right now, if we zoom in here, we may be getting a little bit of not quite, no real divergence here right now. So keep an eye out for divergence here, but we are looking pretty bearish, guys. Remember, this is massive resistance. We've been talking about this for we've been talking about it since November when we made this target. Once it broke below there, it was going to be major resistance, and that's what's happening. Now, do we come back down and test this low and get a bounce, or do we break right through? Let's look at the 4 hour. You can see these blue lines I have drawn in here. These were the lows before our little fake rallies, which like I believe we're in now. Once we broke that, we broke it pretty hard. We never came back up to break it. So that would be the number we're looking for, 25.33. A break of that, then we can start looking at our 28,000 target. But until then, we remain bearish. Anything under 25,331. Right now, we're heading down to our 200 EMA, which is around 23.2. We get a bounce there, that'll probably line up with this RSI trend line on the bottom here. Get a bounce. If we close below that, then we probably have much more downside. Now, the short I was talking about would be a break of this trend line. Now, this trend line is ascending, so it depends on how long it was before it was to break. So say it broke over here towards the end of August around 21,000. That would be a great short, in my opinion. Might even wait for a retest in the smaller time frames, maybe 4 hour breaks below, comes back up for a retest, and then continues down. But I believe we'll probably see the same thing around that 17.6, where everyone will be expecting a double bottom or a bounce. Be careful. It could definitely be a double bottom and bounce, but I think most likely, like over here and over here, once hit those lows, it was just a great liquidity zone where, you know, people were buying in, so they were putting money in to, so when the people selling actually had money come to sell into, right? So it's probably what we're going to see here. Now, again, if we break this 25,333, which is the old low, then that may change. We start getting support. Then we can start looking for that 28. But anything below this, I remain bearish unless we break above that, right? So this trend line right here, a break of that, I think would be a amazing short opportunity, even if it is only down to the 17.6, right? Maybe take some profits there if we get a decent bounce. But your easiest way to do it would be to short here. And again, this is my opinion, not financial advice. This is exactly what I'll be doing. Short here and move your stops down into profit, right? As it moves. That way, if it pops back up, you get stopped out, you're in profit. You can see here when it broke right here, it didn't close below it. Came back up all the way up here and broke down again. Once it broke it again the second time, it did not come back up for a retest. Same thing if we look over here. Once it broke and closed a 4 hour below this, it got a little bounce, but it never came back up all the way to the top. So that's why I say this will be a great opportunity to short if that trend line breaks, right? We've been talking about this for a long time. Now let's take a look at one more way to look at this. So if you look at the trend breaks here, right? This was a measured move of the flag, the width of the flag. We brought it down here. Once we broke that, that gave us our target of that 25.5. And then once this trend line, we did another one. This trend line here, once that broke, we use this as the flagpole, bring it down. That got us to our 17.6. If you guys are around for that, we were calling 17.6 all the way from November. So, and it hit beautifully. Now, if we do the same thing here, let's say we break over here in the next couple weeks, around that 21,000 range, we break that. Actually, the VPVR is saying around 20,900-ish. If we break that, our next targets are going to be, we're going to look at these as measured moves. Our first target's going to be 14.7. And after that, we get that $8,000 to $9,000 range, right? We'll be keeping track of it. We'll get more accurate targets in. These are obviously just kind of speculation right now, unless that them levels break, right? Once we know where it breaks, then we can get more accurate. That's why you need to watch the channel every video. A lot of people I see say, oh, I wish I'd have seen that video. Well, not every video is going to have, not every video is going to be the wow video, right? But you don't know which one it is. That's why we track every day and keep updated on these, because yeah, just don't miss videos or you're going to get lost. Also, if you watch all these videos, you'll learn a lot just by watching and tracking the market instead of paying for other people's bad habits, which is buying their courses because they can't trade. That's why they sell courses. So anyways, just to get that out there. But let's say we come up here and we break that 27,000, which is this trend line, looking at this as a rising broadening wedge, right? Let's say we break that. If we do, our first target obviously is going to be that 28,000. And the highest I would see it go, if we did break that 28,000, would be around that 33,000, right? Possible. I'm still leaning towards we break this bottom trend line first. To be totally honest with you, I believe that we are still bearish. Nothing has changed in these charts since I've been showing you guys all this. We were watching this higher highs right here, lower highs right here, in bearish divergence, and boom. Actually, that was regular bearish divergence. And then right now, we look at this low and this low. We're in the 4 hour. We got almost 3 hours. So we may get some hidden bullish divergence here in this little mini uptrend. If we do, if this RSI closes below this low here, but our price closes above, which would probably be around that 23.2, 23.3, we probably can expect another little bounce here. The only way that's going to be bullish, obviously, is breaking the high right here. But remember, let me go back to this chart, tell you the key area, 25,331. And open and close, if we start opening and closing a 4 hour above that, then I'd start looking for that 28 target as a possibility. But again, we have this trend line here around 27 to watch for. Just be careful here. Like I said, look for the bigger trades. Obviously, a lot of people trying to trade this little stuff are just getting decimated here, just wrecked with all this chop. So be careful. All right. So 10 years to break the all-time high. And after this, we'll go into the fishing trip stuff for those of you that are curious to see that. But you can see Amazon took 10 years to break the all-time high, right? And like I showed you, this chart seems to be playing out beautifully as a bubble pop pattern. It's a bubble pop pattern. So for those that keep saying you can't compare this with that, this with that, that with this, look at any markets. There are patterns in the markets. That is how people with big money take money out of the markets. It's a bubble pop. That's what happens. And then you include fear in there, and then capitulation, and that's just what happens. But so everybody that thinks that it's just going to bounce right up and you're going to get this huge bounce to a new all-time high, probably not. As you can see here, this is the weekly chart, mind you. And this was usually a macro bottom after a bubble pop like this takes 2 to 3 years to bottom, and then it's not a moonshot to the moon. It's a struggle to get back up, like I said, because all the confidence will be lost down here. But you're not going to hear a lot about Bitcoin on the news after that happens. You're not going to hear. There's going to be years of not hearing about it. When you do hear about it, like right in here, you may see some the news start talking about it again, get everyone in just to dump on them again, so on and so forth. It's funny how this works. Like when Bitcoin was in after 2019 into 2020 area, you really didn't hear about it in the news until after, you know, they wanted to start pumping it again, because during that time where it's quiet, you don't hear anything, the big boys are accumulating. They don't want you accumulating. That's why you won't hear about it on the news and stuff. Just some ways to look at the market here that a lot of people don't tell you on these YouTube channels. And a lot of these YouTubers, they only look at Bitcoin. They really don't understand markets as a whole. So just be really careful who you're watching. I'm not saying they're bad. I hope they learn and get better, but they haven't been in markets long enough to understand. And like I said, if they're just watching Bitcoin, you're not going to get an idea of what the markets are doing. All right, so let's do it. Let's get into this was who we went with. It was Dreamcatcher Charters. The captain we went with was Steve Lamp. Awesome guy. If you have, if you wear your emotions on your sleeve, probably not the one you want to go on. He's straightforward. He doesn't play. He can seem like an ass. Some people on our trip thought he seemed like an ass, but we went out with there was a bunch of boats out that day. We were the only boats that did good. All the other boats didn't have crap. And he's stern. It's kind of like me. Might seem like an ass, but he's just trying to teach you the right way to do it. If you want to catch fish, listen to him. If you don't listen to him, you're probably not going to catch fish. All right, so that's where we went. Here's some pictures. This was the boat we went on in excess. It was a 47-foot Viking. Great boat. Have an air-conditioned living room in it. So if you get too hot, it does get very hot out, especially this time of year. Or you can sit up top with the captain and get a breeze. Numbers right here, all that stuff. And no, he didn't pay me to say this. I just am letting you guys know because we had a great trip. Here's some of our catches here, if you guys can see that. Not sure if you can see it, but these were some of the better catches. This was a wahoo. Let's go back to the next one. This was a mahi-mahi I caught there. Plenty of fishing, and it was just a beautiful day out there. Great experience, guys. If you guys are interested in deep sea fishing, I do definitely recommend checking those guys out. Thanks for watching the video. Leave your comments down below. Do not forget to smash those likes. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.